Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Connected Wellness Podcast. I am Rachel Ann. I'm here with Marianne and a very special guest who we will introduce in just a little bit. And we are so passionate about wellness.
Here in this podcast, we look at the ways our physical, emotional, and spiritual health is all connected and how we can take better care of our whole selves holistically so we can live our best lives. We're really excited that you're here with us on the journey. Welcome to episode 17 of the podcast. We have a special guest today. Mark is with us, and let me just tell you a little bit about Mark before we jump into the episode. But thank you so much for being with us. We're really excited to have you, Mark. So Mark is the best-selling author of Dads Kiss Your Sons. I can personally vouch that it's a fantastic book. I've read it before it even came out, so lucky me, and several other self-development books. He's been featured on CBS, NBC, and others, sharing his story. He holds a bachelor's degree in biology and a master's in higher education leadership. So very exciting stuff. Your book came out relatively recently, right, Mark?
Yeah, just I think March 23rd it came out this year.
Wow.
And already a bestseller. That's super exciting.
It did. Yeah, it did hit bestseller #1 in a few categories on Amazon. So, yeah, I'm blown away, honestly. Like, blown away and just so excited about it.
And
because the message is important, at least I feel. I feel like the message is pretty important.
I mean, I feel like the numbers are showing that other people are finding it important as well, definitely. But I have a feeling that it's connected to your purpose, which is our topic today, finding your purpose. So we'll talk a lot about that in a little bit. But first, guys, as always, we got to start with our wellness wins, right? We can't forget to be recognizing the things that we're doing to take care of ourselves every day, every week. So who wants to start?
I'll start.
All right.
So a wellness win for me was I decided to go on a nice long walk instead of being on time for work. And that was needed. I didn't have any appointments or anything, so that was good. But yeah, just a nice long walk where I probably was listening to Joel Osteen and just kind of getting my thoughts centered, my heart centered with where I'm heading, with my purpose and the things that are important to me. So just a walk just to breathe and recenter, and I do that pretty often. So I take wellness quite seriously.
That's great.
Awesome.
What about you, Rachel?
I love that. Sorry you were late, but it seems like it was worth it, For me, the wellness win was that it's kind of a two-parter. So my husband and I went on vacation last week to Bermuda. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. Is it expensive? Yes, but it is totally worth it. So do what you got to do with your financial wellness to budget and make it happen. And we went and it was really relaxing. It was really restful. It was a really wonderful time. And then when I came back, I don't know why this happens, where the week of when I get back from vacation, I have like 5 million things happening all within like the first 3 to 4 days. And I'm like, how did I do that? So yesterday was one of those days where I had 5 million things to do. And one of those things was a meeting that was going to be recorded. And I was like, Rachel, you do not have to show up to this meeting live. You usually don't really participate. Usually, it's like a educational type of thing. So I can just listen. It's okay. It's also recorded. You have access to the recording. Should we do this or should we take a nap? And I have one more session coming up with my last client of the day. I want to make sure I'm energized and ready for her. So I was like, let's have a nap, which will allow me to have the energy that I need for my client. And I can always check out the meeting. So after a very rejuvenating vacation, had a few busy days, but I was like, no, I need a nap. My body is saying we need a nap. So I took a nap, y'all. And I know that was a wellness win before, but I'm going to keep doing it, as many times as I need to because it is a win.
Good for you. We talked about how Jesus napped, right, in our last episode, and we should be more like Jesus, even though I have yet to to be able to nap successfully. But yeah, maybe you'll keep encouraging me with your wins, Rachel.
Yeah. Don't give up, Marianne. Jesus wants you to nap, so you can do it.
So my win is kind of similar to yours minus the nap, but I've been trying to say no more often, right, since the beginning of the year. And I have been, and I realized like in the last few weeks, I've said no to a lot of things, but not at the expense of like productivity or service or even my social life. Like I just realized there's too many things, and I've been taking each one and being like, is this really necessary? Like this meeting, like for example, I had a couple meetings that I was like, I don't really need to attend this. Like I can find out what's important later, right? Multiple social events. And here's the thing, I love all these people involved in these social events. So if any of you are listening and I said no, it's not because I don't want to hang out with you. I absolutely love you. It's just that I can't like have 0 evenings, off. Like that's how it would be if I said yes to everything. Like I need some time off. I need some time with Chris, so I've just realized like, dang, I've been saying no to so many things, and that's huge for me because I was never able to do that. So I'm excited and proud of myself. So yay.
Love
saying
that.
No.
Good job.
High five for our
y'all.
wellness wins. Yes.
Yay.
Great job, everyone. All right. So actually saying no is kind of related to our topic, I would say, because if you are trying to find your purpose, that's going to take a lot of mental energy. It's going to take obviously time, right, and effort. And if you don't say no to the extraneous things that are not as important, we're not going to be able to focus on what is most important. So that's what we want to talk about today. It's kind of a big one, right? How to find your purpose, how to pursue your purpose. There's so many obstacles, like your job, right? Like you meant, like one of them is just the fact that we got to, work. Does my purpose have to be my job? Like all these things, that we want to get into. So why did we pick you, Mark, to talk about this topic?
You tell me.
Yeah.
What you said is pretty important, saying no to certain things, because I think a lot of times we you almost think that you got to be like somebody else, or you see somebody doing something that you think you want to do, or you see other people succeeding in a way that sort of isn't in line with the giftings and the talents that you have. So you feel like you need to be doing something extra or running in a race that you don't really belong in. So to be able to say no, not only extraneously, but internally to yourself, of like, no, that's just not my race. That's not where I'm being called to go. Just because you're really good at studying, math, I'm a bio guy, or, just something like that. It's like and then saying no to the extraneous things as far as like life is concerned, just so that you have time to sit down with yourself and figure out not only who you are, but who you're not, and to really sit with that. And I used to talk about something called a dream inventory, and it was essentially you would just look over your life and all the things that you were good at and that you loved to do, like through childhood up through adulthood, that you might have forgot about. A lot of times we just stop doing those things. So it's like, for me, it was speaking, and it was writing, and it was coaching and working with people. So like those were like the 3 things that I narrowed my focus into, and then just focusing on working on it. But yeah, I mean, your purpose, it's so easy. It's easy to find because it's who you are. It's just tied. You don't really have to like look around like, oh, what are they doing over there? Maybe I'd like that. Or I mean, you can kind of do that, but it's in you. It's burning within you to come out. So it's it's fairly easy to sit there and be like, where's my purpose? Okay, I feel it. I see it. I know the thing that catches my heart on fire and that I'm really excited about. And that's what I'm going to go after.
I feel like I've heard before, if you think about what would you do if money was no object, then that may be like, a good kind of clue. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, or if you were guaranteed to succeed.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So if there was 0 chance that you would fail, what would you do?
Yeah.
So do it.
Oh my God, there's like 25 things I would do if I was guaranteed to succeed. So but I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, your purpose can be tied to like several things. It's just like living. It's kind of there's like an essence of like who you are and the passion that you have, and it could be helping people, reaching people, and you can do that in several different ways and
Mm-hmm.
mediums. You know, but at the heart of it, it's like, I think at the heart of everything, it's service.
Mm.
And it's always going to be service to other people, and it's always going to be, why did you write this song? It's like, yeah, it helped me, but man, it's helping so many other people. And why did you write this book? Yeah, it was, you know, cathartic for me to do it, but the message and what it's doing for others, like everything always comes down to service. Like your purpose is very much, I would probably say 100% going to be tied to service, because it was given to you by God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's why we're here.
That's a really good point. It makes me think of something that I heard a while ago when I was first starting my relationship with God. Somebody asked this person, they were like, what's our purpose? Like, how do you find your purpose? And they were like, if you're a Christian, your purpose is to love God and love people. Like, very simple. That's just what it means to be a follower of Christ. But the specific ways of doing that, that's up to you. That's up to your personality, your skills and talents that the Lord has given you. And so I love that you kind of brought that to light. The idea of the love that we have for God and how that empowers us to do the work that he wants us to do for the people in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like what you said, as far as talents go, like he's given us each different talents, unique talents, more talents, several talents, 5, 6, 20, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But what it's wrapped in is love and service to others and God.
Amen.
Yeah. So how do I want to serve others? So really that makes the question, I think, a lot easier. I hate to say easy, but maybe a lot more narrow than just what is my purpose, right? How can I be of service to others? So yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. So when did you know yours?
I think your purpose kind of exposes itself to you as you just journey through life. You find new things about yourself that you didn't know you had. You find new talents about yourself you didn't realize were there. For me, it was, I started writing when I was maybe 12, and I would always kind of write poetry or short stories and things. And then I, started playing guitar and I became a musician. I started writing music a lot. And, that's when all of that creativity was coming out of me. And then it wasn't until I was in college that I realized I liked helping people understand math. Marianne, this, like when you say fractions, everyone's blood pressure goes up. So, when I was in, doing that, I started working as a tutor, and I would see that aha moment in somebody, and I was like, oh, I love that. I love seeing somebody get it. I love being able to, do that for somebody. So, and that wasn't until I was in my like late 20s, so like your purpose just like slowly, I feel like it just reveals itself throughout your life. And you just, like I said, you kind of look throughout your life and find those things and you put them together. You try to live those things that you're talented with and that you're good at. And I mean, that's how you're going to be living in your purpose. Like, and for me, it came together when I started and I wrote this book. This is my 7th book, but I loved writing and I loved doing stuff to teach people and help people get to where they want to be with things. And this book was so important to me because when I had my son, he's going to be 3. He's my best friend. Like there's his picture right there when he was much smaller, but he's a beast now. When I had him and I was kind of looking over my life and, I knew I had just kind of a wild story. I was like, well, what's the purpose, of this story? What was the purpose of a lot of the pain that I was dealing with and gone through? And, I knew I had a story, but why was I writing it? Why was I going to put it into a book? And then it hit me when I, looked at him and Dads Kiss Your Sons. I was like, oh, I went through all that stuff so that I would be a good dad. And now I can bring this message to other people, because I didn't have a dad. I didn't know what it looked like. So that became part of my purpose and my mission and my message with Dads Kiss Your Sons is it's not like a how-to for dads. And so many people connect with this book, whether you're, a dad or a mom or an aunt or a brother or anybody could read this book and find something that they're needing. That's a big statement, but I really believe it. And yeah, I mean, so much of my purpose is wrapped up in the message in that book, and like I said, your purpose just reveals itself as you keep going through life. And, you hold on to it, you remember it, and you just kind of keep working with it. And as it exposes itself to you, you just pick up new elements and it's almost layered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cool. Like God just keeps exposing, like, oh, I have this thing, and I have this thing, and I'm purposed in this area. Very cool. So
It sounds like it's evolved. So it's not like it's been brand new, like when, your son was born, like all of a sudden, like light bulb, I know exactly what to do. Because like you said, you had been writing for so many years. You'd been interested in helping people for so many years. So yeah, I like that layered idea. But also, this reminds me, Rachel, of our conversation from last episode about intellectual wellness, about just kind of staying open and curious, right? And, exploring your skills, exploring your talents. Because if you're not sure, what Mark is telling us here is that that's what we need to look like. What is it that you're good at? How can you put that to use? What makes you feel passion, right? What like makes you go, oh my gosh, like I want to do something about this, or, I feel really strongly about this. And you got to like kind of put yourself out there, even just like intellectually put yourself out there and, do some introspection. And, how do we do that though when so many of us are stuck in this 9 to 5, and that occupies the vast majority of our mental resources, and forget about, sometimes we got other stuff going on, family issues, money issues, mental health issues, physical health, you know what I mean? So how can we dedicate the time that it takes, the energy that it takes? Because it really is important. Wouldn't both of you agree? Like, isn't it, Rachel, one of our like psychological needs? I know it's not in the base of the pyramid, but like up higher, that we have some purpose, in our life that we're doing. Yeah. We're not just going through life and making sure we don't die every day. Like we need to have more than that. Yeah. So it is important, and it's worth dedicating the time. So what do you guys think? Like, a lot of us don't have the time. Like, we got to work every day. Like, we got to pay the bills. We got to take care of the kids.
That's what you said. Important. It's worth taking the time. And then you said we don't have the time, but that's the flaw in thinking, because that's what we think. We don't think we have the time to do those things. We don't think that we have the time. Yeah, it's such a wild thing. I wrote about this a little bit, but we don't think we have the time to do the thing that's going to make us better for the people that we love. By spending time with ourselves and our purpose, and really working on, and it's, if it's your job, great. If it's becoming your job, great. If it's not your job yet, great. But you have time. You have time in the day to do some work on the thing that's bringing your heart to life. Because if every day you're doing something that's bringing your heart to life, like that's the person that's going to be reflected in the relationships that you have with people. That's what you're going to be bringing home to your family, to your son, to the people that you love, because you're fulfilled and you're happy. And if you happen to be in a job that you hate, like, you need this even more than somebody who's not in a job that they hate. Like, because if you're doing something every day that is sucking your soul right out of your nostrils, and you're like losing your mind, like, you need to do something like this so that your heart beats with peace and calm. And it beats with peace and calm when it's doing work within its purpose. And that's how you turn around and you're a person that you want to be. So you got time. You definitely have time to do it.
That was such a life coach answer of let's do a mindset shift real quick, because that's real. It really makes us think about how are we spending our time, and what makes us believe that the things that we enjoy or that are healthy for us are not worth the time. We talked about this last episode. We decide what is worth it. And if I decide that knitting is worth it and it doesn't harm me and it doesn't harm anybody else, then that means it's worth it, and I'm going to do it, and therefore it is worth time. It also makes me think about situations where I'm just so grateful for community and for friends and for people in my life that really care about me, and they've been able to help me find my purpose at times, because they're able to point out characteristics or talents that, especially during dark seasons, I'm not able to see that in myself, but they're able to see that. They're like, hey, did you know that you're really good at this? Or for example, my occupation now as a life coach, a big part of that is because of a random conversation I had with my now husband when I was just sitting on the couch, realizing I had free time. And I was like, what do I want to do with this free time? I love my 9 to 5, but I have free time and there's so many needs in the world. And I literally turned to him. I was like, what are the things that I'm good at? And he just listed a bunch of things. And I was like, oh, that's like coaching. That's what that term is. I learned about that in grad school. And he's like, you should do that. And I was like, cool. And then from there, just started like the whole journey of researching and is it realistic? And then it was totally God that I got my first client, and that client had a referral. You know what I mean? So it's so wonderful to see how God uses community. In the event that I don't get the message, he's like, that's cool. I'm going to send you 5 people to remind you, and I'm going to make it really obvious in your face. And if it's obvious in your face because you can't see, and you still can't see it, I'm just going to keep sending more people and more random messages that are coincidences. So that was something that I was thinking about. That I was like, oh, I'm very grateful, because it'd be hard to look at myself and figure myself out. Thankfully, I have people that'll help me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I love what you said there. It's like, God he'll just keep hammering on you. You know, it's like, you'll eventually get it. Like, oh, I should be doing this. He's like, yep. I just imagine him like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I've been saying that. And it takes so much to just overcome ourselves. And it takes so much to overcome, you know, because, yeah, you know, we do have the accuser of the brethren, as he's referred to. So you're always being, you know, bombarded with those thoughts of like, I can't do this, or I can't do this, or I don't have time, you know, I don't have this, you know, and it's just we overcomplicate it. And it's like, it really is like so simple. Like for me, every day I'm at Starbucks in the morning, bright and early, before I go to my office. And that's where I'm able to do these things. That's where I wrote my book. That's where I read. That's where I, you know, do blogs. That's where I do all this stuff, you know, for my heart. All of my heart's work is done in like 2 hours or an hour at Starbucks, because I know I can, and you can too. That's it. It's like, it's just like, it's so simple. Like, and we overcomplicate it. I meet people all the time, especially with books. Like, people don't think they can write a book, or they see all this, like, it's like this clouded, you know, how do you write a book and how do I start it? Like, here's how you write a book. I'm going to give it to you. Here's $10,000 information right now to make your book a bestseller. Seriously, like on your podcast, whoever's listening, I hope you just take some notes. Here's how you do it. You write your book, you bleed all over the pages. When you think it's done, send it off for professional editing. This is outsourcing, so you're going to have to spend a little money. Do a crowdfunding campaign. GoFundMe. That's what I did. So anyway, you write your book, you think it's done, you send it for editing. Cool. Then you get professional design for the interior, and then you get a professional to do the cover, and then you release it on Amazon after you use a tool called Publisher Rocket, which is only like $87. I don't sell it, but I'm just saying it's $87. It will tell you all the categories and how many books you need to sell in that category a day, which is only like 4 to 5 to become a bestseller. There you go.
Wow.
Like,
Ooh.
That's it. Write it, edit it, get it looking like a real book with interior design, get it looking like a beautiful book on the exterior with cover design. And then, you know, like I said, do that Publisher Rocket, figure out the categories that it needs to be on Amazon. You could do up to 10, I think, and you specially request it just through an email to Amazon. And then there you go. There's your bestseller.
Wow. Ooh, you just simplified that process.
Every process is simple.
Well, okay, I have to say something, because when you keep saying it's so simple and you just do it, you just do what you feel like you want to do. Okay, there's a few barriers. Forget about time. You totally blew that out of the water, and I agree with you, right? We make time for the things that are important to us. What about this problem of imposter syndrome, or just feeling like,
girl.
I am not, like, who am I to coach people? I don't know, Rachel or Mark, if you've ever had that feeling, but or who am I to write it? Why does anyone want to read what I have to write? I am not going to lie, I had that feeling even about making this podcast. Like, why do I feel like I got anything, valuable to say? I know that I have things valuable to say, but there's always that little voice, like you're saying, Mark, that comes into play. So how do we counter that? Because especially if we're feeling in our heart to do something like grand, to do something big and exciting, we're going to have this fighting back at us. I don't know if you guys have had that experience.
Oh, no, I walked right in. I'm like, yeah, I'm a bestseller. This is it. Never felt it. No, I'm lying. I was on a podcast over the weekend, and literally in the middle of it, towards the end, all of a sudden I was deflated. All of a sudden I was like, why am I talking about myself right now? Why am I here? What, like, I don't belong here. I wouldn't be here if I didn't belong here. I wouldn't have this opportunity if I didn't belong here. I wouldn't have this message. I wouldn't have this gift. I wouldn't have this passion and this excitement and this joy and this burning desire to do it if I didn't belong here. So I think you know, it does, again, sound simple, but you belong there. And you just have to remind yourself that you belong there as you're doing it. And that voice is going to get quieter and quieter as you continue to do and do and do. It's all about action, and it's all about doing work and doing, you know, exactly that. Like, you know, with this book, it was like, wow, I hit bestseller on Amazon. Like, that was crazy. Even though I really simplified that process, it's still such a remarkable and beautiful thing to see. Now, you could put out a pamphlet and it could be a bestseller if you put it under, like, make it underwater basket weaving, heating and air conditioning as like the category. But if you make it a category that's actually your book, like, you know, developmental psychology, and it hits bestseller, you're like, ugh, I did it, you know, and this counts and this is real, you know, so that voice is like, he got one. You know, and then you see yourself, you know, on this next podcast, and they're like, I don't know how we're going to follow up with you because you did so good. And I'm like, oh, man. And I'm so thankful for it. And I'm not looking for this stuff to like, you know, boost my ego. I'm looking for this stuff to quiet that voice, because that voice is a liar. What the voice is fear. And fear, as we know, is a liar. So the more I prove fear wrong, and the more that I keep remembering my wins, that's what's important too. We got to remember our wins, and we have to go over them sort of daily. Like, well, I did this thing. I did this thing, because it's real human to like accomplish something. And then that fear is so tricky. He'll come in and say, yeah, you did that, but what's next? And he won't talk about it anymore. Right. You know, he's got you focused over here. So you got to keep looking back like, oh yeah, I did do this thing over here. I did accomplish that. And I got my sights set on this thing now too. I'm still working on these things. Well, you can't do that. What do you mean I can't do that? I just did this. Didn't you see that? I can do this. Sorry, I'm getting fired up.
Get fired up.
Sorry, I have two things to respond, and I feel like I just forgot. Oh, no, I didn't forget. Okay, so one of them is, I think part of countering this feeling is looking to God, right? Because God has given us these gifts that we're talking about, that is giving us the passion, giving us the ability to pursue, you know, whatever he's leading us to. So if we keep remembering that, like, this isn't just me, you know, that this is, God is with me, God is pushing me, as long as I'm feeling like this is what he is wanting me to do, right? So that is something I kind of want to talk about in a minute, because I have something else to say. Like, how do we hear God and feel God's guidance, right, when it comes to this? But number two, with what you're saying, Mark, remember your wins. I agree 100%. That's why we remember teeny tiny wellness wins. Even, you know, for me, I've been doing it daily because I know how important it is to take care of myself. But what about when we don't win, right? What about when you get that rejection letter? You know, that's huge. Like, if the win, you know, quiets the voice a little bit, that rejection letter, man, that voice is screaming, and it's going to scream for like weeks, right? Over one thing, no matter how many wins you had in that meantime. So how do we deal with the hiccups, the rejections, the failures along the way? Because they're inevitable, are they not?
Are you asking me, or is this for
It's
Rachel
for both of you, also? Of course.
Because I don't want to be like taking over the episode.
I mean, because Rachel, you did a pretty amazing and brave thing as well when you started, you know, your own business. So same thing. I imagine there must have been hiccups. Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I definitely want to hear what Mark has to say. You're not talking too much. We love it all. Please share everything. But something that I will say in regards to what you're talking about is the voice of fear is very loud. And so there's multiple things that you put in place to help you manage the voice. So a very cheesy thing that I created is called the supportive toolkit. I don't know a better name for it, but essentially it's like, all right, if I'm in a depressive episode, or if I got into an argument with my partner, or if I don't know, tripped and hurt my knee, what are the things I need to put in place to help me manage that healthily? And so, for example, in the moments where the voice of fear is really loud because I was rejected, it's like, all right, what are the things that I'm going to put in place to help me manage it? I'm going to talk to somebody who is supportive. I'm also going to talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about and can help me figure out why I was rejected. So that's a mentor, a business coach, a whatever, a trusted authority person. And then you're also going to have other things in place to remind you what are your skills are. So maybe for me, it's looking at client testimonials. I have a folder. If I have a bad day and I'm like, I'm ready to close Rachel Ann coaching, I have a folder of emails or text messages that my clients have sent me that's of gratitude and appreciation. And I was like, oh, there's actually a reason why I do this. Okay, you're right. You have to remind yourself of that. And so those things have been helpful for me. And then I think the last thing that has been helpful for me is figuring out, okay, it's the voice of fear, but what are the situations or circumstances or people that I've been around that have made me believe the voice of fear more than what God is telling me, or more than what my community is telling me through, like God is using this community to tell me something. So is it, I have a naysayer in my life, somebody who's intimidated or they're jealous. So maybe I'm listening to that voice a little bit more. Or am I just not around enough people who are doing the things that I do? So I don't believe it can happen because I don't see people doing what I'm doing and able to do it in a way that works for them. So for me personally, those are the two things that I do on those days. But I have a hunch Mark has really good ideas. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
I love that. I think those are hugely powerful tools. And I think everybody, if they weren't writing anything down, they need to go back, listen to that, and write some of that down, because that's what I'm going to have to do. Yeah, that is hugely, hugely powerful. And that's actionable. Like that's what you need. When you're seeking information and you're seeking to learn, you need actionable tools. And when you're hearing people that are giving you that, those are the people to hold on to. There's a lot of fluff out there. So like I love that. That's beautiful. And honestly, what you said just reminded me of, when you are in that moment of failure, it's probably even more important to remember your wins, because you're not riding high on a win. You're getting kind of kicked, you got the air, the wind kicked out of you because, you're taking this failure right now. And, failure keeps popping up. I heard a cool quote from Jamie Kern Lima, and she said, failure isn't, or, it's not rejection, but God's protection. He's protecting you from something else because you need to be going in a certain direction. And, of course, there's things to learn from the failure. If you want to call it failure, it's feedback, really. I mean, if we can alter how we define things and the words that we use, words are so important. So if we don't say failure because there's such an obviously negative connotation with that, and I see it as feedback, then it's different. So I don't know, maybe Marianne, you were inspired by my recent post about a pretty big failure that I had that I posted about it. In the book world, one of the biggest things and important things is getting reviews. Obviously getting good reviews, but not just getting good reviews, but getting reviews from reputable sources. So I got this rejection from, who was it? I don't even remember. It's not that important to me. I got a rejection, or a redirection, as we'll call it, from
Publishers something?
Publishers Weekly. Yeah. Publishers Weekly, which, obviously a hugely reputable source. And it was a nice email. And it just said, we're not going to move forward with sending your, your project to our editors for review. But it also said in the message, even with the strength of your project, I was like, oh yeah, it is a strong project. So I picked up, some of what they said as far as the good goes, but it obviously, you can't dance around it. It's like, oh, well, that doesn't feel good. You always want to get a win when you go for something. You always want to win the award. You always want to get a good review. You always want to get a review from a highly reputable source, specifically in the book world. But before that, I had a huge win. With Kirkus Reviews. Now, Kirkus Reviews is, they're like the gold standard. They're huge. And here's the thing: you pay $400 and you wait 9 weeks to not get a guaranteed good review. In fact, you're probably not going to get a good review. You're probably going to get no, this needs a lot of work. It's unprofessional. And especially when you're going I'm self-published, so like I said, it's very important to outsource if you really want to come up with a professional product when you're doing a book and you're self-publishing, you want to outsource a lot of things. The thing that you're good at with writing when you want to write a book is probably the writing part. So that's what you want to focus on. You may have a background in, all this other stuff, which is great. Use it, save yourself some money. But if you don't try to figure it out. Anyway, so Kirkus, I get the email and talk about, expecting failure. I prayed for God to let me accept the not good review that I was going to get. I literally was like, that was in my head. I was like, oh God, when the review finally came, I didn't even want to open it. I was like, just let me accept what this is going to be. And I got it. And it was not only good, but it was like glowing. And I was like, I mean, they said something to the effect of like, it's a book that, an entire generation of fathers probably needs to read, which was like, oh my God, like that was so huge. So, that was weeks before this sort of big rejection. So, what am I going to do? Am I going to just like disregard the Kirkus thing? Like, no, I'm going to remember that a little more. I'm going to probably talk about it a little more, to remind myself, like, I'm still doing the right thing. Not every avenue is going to open up. I'm not going to get on every podcast I'm trying to get on. I'm not going to get every review I'm trying to get. In fact, with the Kirkus, if you get a starred review, your life's going to change. I didn't get a starred review, but I did get a good review, a good sort of glowing review, so it's important to, like, as you're going through that process, it sounds simple to say, but you kind of take the good with the bad. I mean, yes, we're walking in our purpose that God's put within us, but that doesn't mean that, okay, now we're shielded from life. We're still walking through life where he says you're going to face tribulation no matter what. And I think that's really powerful in our purpose too, is like, whether you're living in your purpose and feeling your heart beat with purpose and beat with fulfillment, and you're able to turn around and be the person that you want to be for the people that you love, and you're inspiring people and live, like, there's nothing like living within your meaning and seeing it hit people and impact people. Even if whether you're doing that or you're not doing that, and you're miserable and you hate every day you wake up and you wish you could be doing something different, and you're miserable at your job and you're miserable in your relationship, and you could be a better parent, but you're not, and you could be a better spouse, but you're not, even if you're living that end, you still get kicked in the face from life. You get kicked in the face from life, whether you're living in purpose with your heart beating beautifully or you're living in misery. So you should probably do what you can to pick this side, because either way you're getting kicked in the face.
Wow.
So both of you guys are reminding me of kind of this balance between how we remember the good and the bad. So have you guys heard before that in our interactions, like especially with, very close loved ones, spouses or children, that if there's like one bad interaction, you need to counter it with 5 good ones, or if you have one criticism, you need 5 compliments. So it's kind of the same thing. You have the one, redirection. Let's say you need to remind yourself 5 times, of wins, right? Like, I think that could really help. So that's where affirmations come into play. Frame that Kirkus review and put it where you can see it, so that every time anything doesn't go as planned, you have that right there, like you know what I mean? So I think that's great. We need to balance and just kind of build ourselves up with the wins and the positives. And
right. And it's important also to remember that it's not always the enemy. Sometimes the earth's shaking and we run to God and see that he's doing the shaking. So it's like, all right, what am I supposed to get out of this? So it's not just ignoring it either. It's not like, and what Rachel said too, like, what could I have done better? Is there anything I could have done better? Or like, where's the lesson? Is the lesson just in taking this redirection better? Is the lesson just in, okay, I believe in myself, I can do this, and then you get hit with something and it's more training and it's more of a test, like, I still believe in myself, I still believe what God says about me, I still am going to speak these words of truth over my life, even though I'm getting hit with it. Maybe that's just the lesson. Maybe the lesson maybe you did everything perfect. Your book actually is great. Maybe if it did go out for Publishers Weekly, it would have got a crazy review, right? It might not have anything to do with that. God might just be like, no, I need to keep testing your character. I want to keep seeing, I want to keep strengthening this part of you, because this is where you're weak, and I want you to get strong here. That kind of, I don't want to talk like that. Almost made it sound like I would say, work on your weakness, not on your strength. And I don't believe in that. I think you should work on your strength, but God does it different. God, I think, like I said, God can throw us some stuff where, he wants to strengthen us, and only he knows where he wants to strengthen us.
Well, yeah, he's trying to perfect us. So absolutely, he wants to fix the flaws.
Right. And silver is refined by
fire. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say something, but then I said that.
While you're thinking
Go ahead.
of what to say, something that came to mind was, Marianne, you said about the imposter syndrome and like, why should I be the person that does this? Why, like, do I think I'm better than everybody else? Blah, blah, blah. And I think that's where us remembering that we are children of God comes in. There's many characteristics that we have as being children of God. We are part of a royal priesthood. So I was like, yo, how would my life be different if I be walking around like I'm royalty? Right? Like, how would I allow people to treat me? Are there people that I'm allowing to treat me like crap? But I am a royal priesthood, So there's this idea of, oh, if God has given me these gifts and these thoughts, and he wants me to share it with other people, because that's part of my purpose, and I'm part of the royal priesthood, he decided that this person needed to be put on this earth at this exact date and this exact time, then that means that there is a purpose for that and that I'm meaningful. If he didn't want me to be on the earth, I wouldn't be on the earth. Straight up. I know that sounds really like weird, but I have to remind myself that everybody has very unique gifts, and there are Mark probably knows this, there are mad coaches. You could wake up tomorrow and become a coach. You don't really need credentials or anything like that, which I have a lot of thoughts and things about. We'll get into that another time. But I'm like, yo, what makes me different than other people? The fact that I'm Rachel. The people that are going to like me and be a good fit for me, and I'm going to like them and I'll be a good fit for them, it's going to be different than Mark's clients and different than everyone else's clients. And so we have to remind ourselves that there are so many different needs. And like, let's say me and you have the same need, but the specifics of it and how we're going to get the support and help we need and what the answers are going to be different because we're different people. And so that's why we need mad helpers and we need mad people in the service profession and all of that. So I would say you are literally special, and we are all special, but which makes me think that, oh yeah, like special doesn't really have like a real definition then if we're all special, but we're all very special in that specific thing. It's just about listening to God and getting the courage to move forward in that and surrounding yourself with people or access to resources or whatever it is to help you believe that for yourself. So you know how I feel about the 5 million things that you want to do. I'm excited for God to continue to, wreck you on that, Marianne. And, it's cool. I'm into it.
Well, that one question that you asked, Mark, like, what would you do if success was guaranteed? Like, instantly, my brain was just like, oh, there's so many things. So like, I feel like I need to sit on that. That's honestly actually my takeaway. And awesome. I think
that's not, I didn't make that up. I heard it.
I mean, that's okay. You shared it and that's why you're here. But I would encourage other people, who are listening. Like, if you are like, I don't know what my purpose is, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, just take a few minutes, right? Like, give yourself some quiet, some, time where you can think about things like that. Like, what is it that brings my heart to life? What is it that makes me unique, right? What are my special skills? What are my talents? How can I be of service to others? Like, think about those things. And then, like, I think you mentioned, Mark, too, just take a step, take one action step, like just do one thing, if it's signing up for a class, if it's, taking half an hour to write, if it's whatever, talking to somebody, who's doing what you think you want to be doing, like take one small step, and that could open up like 100 doors and open your mind to what you could potentially achieve. And it's really exciting. Actually.
And to go along with that, didn't you say something about like, how do we know if God's calling us in a
how do we
direction?
hear him?
And you said like stepping out. It's so like, I feel like a quick answer to that is usually you'll have a couple choices, and whichever one scares the absolute life out of you, that's probably the one he's calling you to, because that's the one that's going to require the most faith. And the thing is you're going to feel this, peace that surpasses understanding, which means you just won't get it. You won't understand why you have this calm in your chest. It's that still small voice that's in there that's just like, this is the direction. And you sit there with that, and you're like, is this where I'm being called to go? Is this part of it? And and you feel this peace, and then you do the human thing where you're like, are you sure? Are you sure? Really? Like this way over here? No, this, okay. But then it is up to you. That's the thing. He's going to give you peace to do it. He's going to give you everything that you need to do it, except he's not going to move your legs for you. It's like, here you go. The door is like wide open. The chains have been dropped. Like you're not held back by anything. And you know that. And if you just stand up and start walking in that direction, everything is going to change for you. Really, just everything.
I have a question that I'm wondering if any of our listeners will be wondering this. So I know we don't have a ton of time, but I feel like it's worth addressing. What if I feel like my purpose is just to be a good mom or a good wife or a good teacher or whatever it is that I am? Like, does it have to be something grand, and on a large scale, or can it be just being the best of what I already am?
So some of your phrasing, let's get rid of that word.
There's that coach again.
Just a good mom. Just a good mom. Oh my God. I wish I had just a good mom when I was growing up. That's real talk, and no, I'm not calling you out, Marianne. I love you.
I know, but I feel, don't you feel like someone could have been wondering that, like,
yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
I don't have grand
dreams. That's how people think. And that, that's like the sort of, it's hard to, like, I don't want to say this. It's sort of like our societal, like, programming, like, oh, I'm just a insert, I'm just a mom, I'm just a dad, I'm just a teacher. Like, no, there's not. So there's not just, and we think that, like, oh, my purpose has to be, like you just said, has to be wrapped up in some grandiose, I'm a life coach for Tony Robbins, or I'm, this world famous author, or I'm a rock star, or I'm, all these things. Your heart beats with purpose, and that purpose is whatever it is, and whether it is, doing books and writing books and speaking and connecting with people in that way, or whether it's being an incredible parent to your children, or whether it's all the above, you're going to know what's beating in your heart. So it's not your job and it's not my job to judge the thing that beats within my heart. And I don't care what anybody else says about it either. But more importantly, it's not our job to judge it, to say, like, oh, I don't really have dreams like Mark has. I must be, I just want to live the, and it's not just, man, like the number one thing, the best thing that I do, my favorite part of every day is giving Kai bath time and spending time with him and hugging him and holding him. That's it. Like, just being a dad is the best calling that's on my life. The absolute best. So
I think it's whatever makes you feel fulfilled, and imagine the impact you have on not only your kids, your family, the people directly around you. If you are truly living your purpose in whatever it is you're doing, even if it seems small, you're still having a major impact, don't you think? Yeah.
Yeah. Whether you touch one life, a million lives, you're very likely still touching a million lives.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think that allows us to end on a relatively positive note, no matter what it is you're feeling. But do you guys have any brief takeaways you want to share? I already shared mine. If one thing someone can be thinking about after they listen to this, what should it be?
For me, what comes to mind is hopefully people, and I need this reminder for myself. So this is Rachel's takeaway, and also, like, let's do this together, listeners. Is this idea that the skills and the talents that we have and the experiences that we have, even if it's weird or unique, or if we've dealt with naysayers or whatever, since God has given it to us, it is worth it. And a lot of people are probably waiting for somebody like you. Somebody told me that, and I was like, ooh, That's
Mm-hmm.
real. And that, yeah, that's something that I'm going to be sitting on for a little bit. How about you, Mark?
I love that. Someone's waiting on you. That was good. Um, just give yourself some grace. Give yourself. You guys can't swear on this, right? Give yourself a crap ton of grace. um, give yourself grace, and you're not in competition with anybody.
Yeah.
Run your race. God says a lot of good things about you. Remind yourself of those good things. Say those good things about yourself. You deserve it. You deserve the thing that you want to go after. You deserve to have a life that's fulfilled and joyous. It's still going to have issues. Everyone's does. No one is void of it. But you also have a God that loves you, and a God that's put purpose within you, and a God that's allowed you to give yourself grace, because he's given you so much grace. So just keep continuing to give yourself grace. Remember the beautiful things you've done, and remember the beautiful things you will do. And I say remember it almost like it's past, because it's going to happen. It's going to come to pass. The dreams that you have in your heart are going to come to pass. So be thankful for it now.
Oh, I love that. This was so great. Mark, for people who want to get in touch with you or follow your work, where can they reach out to you?
Yeah,
Instagram, all that stuff.
Instagram's always a good one. I think what's my handle? I think it's at _Mark_Craven_, and the book is everywhere, wherever you get books, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. It's ebook, hardcover, paperback, all forms. I'm working on audiobook next, but yeah, Dads Kiss Your Sons. I would break it down. It's like 1/3 science, 1/3 self-help, 1/3 memoir. So it's not just like a how to change diapers kind of book. It's a I don't. So this is me. Like, oh, should I say this? Yes, it's a beautiful story about someone overcoming a lot of stuff and coming into the most beautiful part of their life, which is fatherhood. So that's what the book's about.
Oh, we love that. We will include all of that information down in the show notes. If you want to get in touch with us, tell us the topics that you want to hear. Tell us your thoughts about the episode. You can find us on Instagram at Connected Wellness Podcast. You can also email us, connectedwellnesspodcast@gmail.com. If you have a specific question for Marianne, she's on Instagram at Wabasaba. If you have a specific question for me, I'm on Instagram at Real with Rachel Ann. All of that will be down below. And a huge thank you to Mark for spending some time with us and sharing just this wisdom and this hope about something as big and daunting like purpose. I'm leaving a little bit more encouraged, and I hope that y'all are feeling more encouraged as well. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Marianne.
Thank you again, Mark, for being here. I think this was, an awesome conversation. And good luck with the future of Dads Kiss Your Sons. So we're excited to see what you will do as you continue to reach for that purpose. It's awesome. But thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you next time. Be well until then.